There we go. I don't know what's happening there. Hello, everyone. How are we going? TGIF, here we are. Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, boy. Is my mic a little bit low? That's a bit better. Hello. We made it. It's Friday. Sorry, I'm a bit sweaty. I was just at the gym. And I was struggling to find my glasses. That's why I'm late. Oh, this light is making me look pretty washed out, isn't it? Maybe I should... Give me 1 second. I'm closing the blind. Alright, that's marginally better. How are we all doing? TGIF. We're here. We made it. Feels good. My name is Camwilsn. If you don't already know. I am very excited to be here today. We've got some great topics actually today to talk about. Wonk.org, 1% improvement in contrast. Baby, we'll take it. This white boy will take it. Yes. So, how are we all doing? We good? My week was a bit disrupted because I was on the Worm this morning, which is, for those people who don't know, Crikey's daily newsletter, and just, you know, it gets sent out early in the morning, so you really gotta get up early or stay up late. It kind of fucks with you a bit, but so I'm a bit sleep deprived, but other than that, I'm pretty good. How are we all in the chat? Schnitty T, your brick wall looks like it will fall down. No, it's pretty steady, I think. We're a terrace house, so I feel like these houses will hold themselves up. Bored Hermit, 2 days notice to a Senate hearing. Didn't die, would call it a success. Wow. What was the Senate hearing? That's incredible. Hey, Curvy Gamer Wife, flexing on you, always. Flexing on you fools. Super Slang, Cam's on the Worm Pass on. Oh, Jakey Potato subscribed with Prime. Thank you so much. Blonde Matthew, feeling weird. Did not expect Pauline Hanson to make an Auntie Donna sketch. Hold that thought. We're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about that. Mark, TGIF folks. TGIF to you too. Ashling, TGIF to you too. Beep boop 2424 Cam Soul, you know it. Look at me, baby. Woo! Hi, Sateus. Constababble. Thank God it is Friday. Oh, Bored Hermit, you were in the NDIS amendments hearing appeared 2 hours ago. How did it go? Well, I don't know anything about the amendments. What were they about? Okay. So just before I get into the chat that we do, I should do my quick promos. First of all, if you haven't already, you can subscribe using Amazon Prime. It kicks me a few dollars, and it doesn't cost you anything. So if you have that would be very much appreciated. I don't really want, I feel uncomfortable asking people for money that they'd have to spend, but that doesn't, if someone can have it, why not? Might as well be me. And yeah, exactly right. Upright Squire says Bezos doesn't need it. And second is oh yeah. So I have a newsletter which came out this week. This week I wrote about Australian political / fiction, which is like online erotica, which I quite enjoy writing about. I also wrote about how you can justify, like, how is it possible that people can say that they care about things like privacy and yet still use Facebook? Like, how is it possible to say that you do and yet still use that? So I kind of like reconcile those. So I do that every 2 weeks, and so I just popped in the link in the thread. It's free. Send you some good stuff. And if you haven't already, please follow me on the rest of my socials. Now, the big story kind of came out while I was out of the house, so I'm going to have to do a quick little bit of... I might do some on-air Googling so we can talk through it, and looking through some some people I know online who've been tweeting about it. But in case you didn't notice, the government dropped its net zero modeling for how it's going to get to net zero by 2050. And I'm getting the sense that I think it left a little bit to be desired, as in both in terms of what we're actually doing to deal with climate change and also what the actual details were in it. So let's pull some up. I'll pull up the screen so you can see what I'm looking at. Beautiful. So net zero by 2050 modeling. Yeah, we'll go with news.com.au by Helena Burke. After weeks of waiting, Australians are finally able to see the economic modelling that has informed the federal government's goals and strategies to achieve net zero by 2050. Speaking in Melbourne on Friday afternoon, Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced the modelling would be released later today. Just minutes later, the modelling went live. The major findings are that reducing the cost of low-emission technology can provide net benefits, obviously. There are a range of pathways to developing the reductions. Adopting net zero by 2050 provides economic benefits to Australia. Yep, people have been saying that for quite a while. Jobs and output growth grows across all major sectors, including mining. And alternative approaches to achieving net zero involves additional costs and risks. The modelling is a simplified version of Australia's predicted future, which allows the government to observe, understand and make predictions about the economic impacts of its net zero by 2050 plan. The analysis released only today compares a scenario where Australia does not take any climate action or adopt a 2050 target versus following the government's net zero 2050 plan that was released last month. However, it does not compare this to more ambitious climate targets. So we have no way of knowing whether all the taking more drastic action to deal with climate change that's affecting us right now would actually improve things. The government didn't even bother to ask. And you reckon they could have done a little bit of work on it, but I guess not. So Greg Jericho writes on economics for The Guardian, and he was doing some tweeting about it, which was quite useful that I saw. Boom. Okay. Where was it? So they, the big thing that I saw was that okay, so here's one thing. Taylor's modelling, so Angus Taylor's modelling increases the amount of gas-fired power on Australia will increase during that time. And also that coal won't reach zero until 2050. Right? Okay, cool. And then, oh yeah, so this was the big thing that kind of jumped out that I saw as well. They're saying in 2050, they will still produce 215 megatons of CO2 a year, and of that, only 94 will be offset. So we'll leave rather more than zero by 2050. Essentially, this net zero plan at the moment doesn't actually model specifically getting to net zero. It models getting closer, but they've just left out a certain amount. Here's another chart showing that. So as you can see on the right, we've got what this plan is that was outlined today, and on the you can see this is how much CO2 we're producing, and as you can probably see, we've got this number 94, which I don't know, to me seems like it's a bit more than the zero that we were promised. Super psych. It's the Australian way. Close enough. It's good enough. Polythium, hi, by the way. You said zero. Exactly. We're pretty close. Beep boop. 2424. 94 is better than zero. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that this remaining amount is that 15%, which they'd actually promised us before, which was due to further technology breakthroughs. So let's walk through how their plan to get to net zero by 2050, which I don't need to remind you is like a target that, if we only do net zero by 2050, we are locking into catastrophic climate change. So this is even being like, we're still going to like destroy the earth. This is how their plan works. So reductions to date, 20%. Technology investment roadmap. So that's technology stuff that we do here. Global technology trends. Then some offsets. And then at the very end, further technology breakthroughs, additional to global technology trends and technology investment roadmap. Sure. It's just like, it's nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. Like, they're not even trying. And I guess the question is, who is this message for? Like, is the average person, besides say someone who's kind of anti-climate change, are they going to see that and understand that? I don't think so. So who is it actually indicating it to? Is it indicating to analysts and people in business who depend on that? Probably. What a bizarre thing to do. And so let me let you in on a secret of politics. Modeling is complete bullshit. Like, modeling is just guesswork. And the really good people at modeling are people who are able to take really good guesses. And there's a lot of bad modeling out there, which is, when people will often go to, say, consultants, even to, scientists, and say, we would love, essentially hint, we would love to get a model that shows us this results. You can show anything with a model. So often they can be massaged in very, in very beneficial ways to some people. So, for example, the guy who did, or one of the people who did this modeling, right, is a guy who did modeling back in 2019 for the Menzies Institute, which said that getting to net zero by 2050 would cause us $600 billion worth of loss. Now it's the same guy who is responsible for saying, actually, no, it's going to be good for us. So, I mean, yes, things have mildly changed in the last 2 years, but it's also just showing that if you want an answer, you can just get an answer just by fitting around with little details. I mention all that to point out that if Scott Morrison and the government wanted a model that actually answered everything, that actually got us to net zero, they could have got one. They could have got one that didn't leave out this 15% at the end, but that's not what they did. They just did this piss weak version, which shows that even as far as trying to deceive people or mislead people, the fact that they are not going all the way to net zero is not a mistake. It's an intention. They're trying to show that it does not work for them like that. Anyway, so that is that. Look, people in politics will often put out stuff on a Friday afternoon that they don't want people to talk about too much, because they're people going the weekend, there's less reporters on tomorrow. They, governments and all politicians will release news on Sunday with the intention of setting the agenda for the week. By the time we get to Monday, there's going to be new stuff to talk about, and most people, or a lot of people, switch off over the weekend. So the idea is that they put this out there, now they can say that they've done it, and they can then go on with their lives. And I guess the point is, if this is something that you care about, like Constable, this is something you have to keep talking about. Now, there was a pretty interesting interview today. I don't know, I got a fair bit of coverage. It was on 3AW.
Prime Minister, we're talking Prime Minister Scott Morrison. You ever told a lie in public life?
I don't believe I have. No.
How does it feel when a former mate, Malcolm Turnbull, calls you a serial liar?
Well, look, I'm in politics. People take sledges at me all the time, Neil. Anyone in public life.
Yeah, but he's your mate. I mean, he was a friend, and he's saying you have always been a liar. That must hurt.
Look, Neil, I I've learned in public life over a long period of time to not have a thin skin.
You got a former Prime Minister of Australia, you got a French President, both calling you a liar, and it doesn't worry you, even politically. I mean, personally,
No,
perhaps
because
not.
I'm making the right decisions, Neil.
What do we reckon? Has Scomo always told the truth? Do you believe him? If he was a liar, would he have told us? Yeah, so Jakey Potatoes is a good point. Maybe I should pull it up now of what he wrote about in his book about Scott Morrison. But I did see actually someone say, well, here's the thing. The first thing is that I saw some people saying that Scott Morrison would have intentionally planted this question to get ahead of it so that he could have his spin on it. And I personally don't think so. I think that any time that he spends talking about him lying, his credibility is a fight that he's not going to win. So I'm not really like, I don't really buy that. But the second thing was people saying, well, like, why would you ask someone if they're a liar? Because if they lie, well, they're just going to say they don't, right? But I think there is a kind of use, because what you do is you give people an opportunity to say, he could have come out then with almost like an admission. He could have said something that was kind of, well, in the past, or like, I've said stuff that I regret, or that I've definitely spun things, but I'm really, trying to be committed to the truth. Or like he could have like admitted something, but he just didn't. I mean, like, to say that he's never lied is in itself a lie, and reinforces a message that people know. So, I mean, I think it was a good question. But here's what Sean wrote in his book, which people seem to be quite enjoying. For Morrison, each moment stands alone. For him, an interaction demands only what it demands. He will do what needs to be done at that precise point in time. He never feels in himself insincere or untruthful, because he always means exactly what he says. It is just that he only means it in the moment he is saying it. Past and future disappear. It's very postmodern of Scomo. But I thought it was such a good opportunity to... I wanted to talk about this, which is that I think that the last month has actually been quite a bad one for Scott Morrison. And I want to like set your minds back like a month ago, where something was going to happen on climate change. He was going to go to COP26. People were saying, well, like, climate change is an issue that people care about, but they don't care about necessarily that much. The subs things that had happened, but people were like, well, like, how much does that matter? So then he went to, they got this deal of net zero. Net zero. Not really, but they secured a symbolic announcement for an unknown amount of money given to the Nationals. And then he went to it was the G20. And when Macron had that moment where he said, I don't think I know, when he called out a liar and then started this, media cycle, which did go for a few days, I'll admit, I was like pretty skeptical. I was like, I agreed with the take, which was, who cares what President Emmanuel Macron thinks? Like, I know it's getting a lot of coverage in the media. I know, and I think part of the reason that he gets a lot of coverage in the media is because someone like Emmanuel Macron, who's this kind of like centrist leader, very well dressed, very erudite, has defeated a kind of far right person in the past, is a bit of a technocrat. He seems to really appeal to people like, I would say, the people working in Australian media. So he got a lot of coverage, but I kind of thought to myself, it's probably like a bit overblown, to be honest. Like, is your average Australian who isn't as plugged into the media cycle as probably all of us are, because why else would you listen to someone who talks about politics on a Friday afternoon? Like, do they know the name of the French president? Do they care that he says that? Do they have any idea what billions of dollars means? And I don't mean this in a disparaging way. Like, I don't really know how to, like, when I hear billions of dollars, my mind just turns off. Like, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how much the nuclear submarine deal cost, how much we're losing because we went away from the French. So, like, obviously we're losing some money, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So, in short, I thought that, like, this was kind of going to be a bit overplayed. Like I thought, you know, this would be a lot less substantial than anything he did back at home, because ultimately, like, who cares what the French say, right? But that changed this week when I heard, when I saw. So I mean, the first thing is that if you look at, so this is a central poll which anyone can get, and the first thing is that it says, his approval jumped quite a bit, and his actually, let me see if I'll pull up the Guardian article first, which kind of explains it a bit better than I do. Voter approval is at the lowest level since before the outbreak of the pandemic, where the government's handling international relations has taken a hit over the past month. There was a 6% drop in the Prime Minister's approval rating since October. They found that 48% of those surveyed approved of the job he was doing, while 48% disapproved. So he's still in the positive by like 6%. But I think what was kind of substantial in it was that he lost 6 in his approval and he gained 5. So a net change in 11 in just a month. And then I had also heard, I'd heard from people who'd heard from Labor saying that their internal polling told them that October was a really, really bad month for them as well. So this wasn't just something that a central poll picked up, but also something that their internal tracking had seen, that actually something substantial happened over the month. And I think the kind of explanation for that is, let me see. So, the importance of Australia's international relations is, I was surprised to hear 54% of them of people surveyed say very important, 49% say fairly important. So you've got 94% of Australians who say that they care about their international reputation. Like, compare that to like what we had going on with Trump during his presidency, where he was saying, I don't care what the rest of the world thinks. I'm going to be like very nationalist. I'm going to be focused on us. If they think bad of us, whatever, like we're just trying to get deals. They also think that 47% of people at the time of this thought that Scott Morrison had undermined Australia's international reputation, and 26% were unsure. So that's a lot of people. Not a lot of people were saying they think it's gone better. And then the other thing, and this is the final one, is Australia's international reputation in the economy. Which of the following is close to your view? Australia's international reputation doesn't matter as long as we're doing what's right by our economy, versus Australia's international reputation matters as it affects our economic performance. And the second answer, saying that linking our international reputation and our performance, actually, like, it got 70%. 70% of people say that they made the link between international reputation and performance. So, I mean, that's it. There's actually a direct link with Scott Morrison being embarrassed on the international scene. So that's both him being called a liar, and then what I think that happened as a result of this, and you know, like, what happened as a result of this was that it seemed like more of the media has felt comfortable calling Scott Morrison a liar since then. Now, Crikey, as I'm sure you guys would see us promote for a while, have been very actively calling Scott Morrison a liar for a while. In fact, he ran a campaign about his lies. And look, we obviously can't take credit for all of it. We're not the only ones who've done it before as well, but we really did it. But, you know, we're glad to see other people having the gumption to call him a liar when he is lying. But I do think that when, you know, people like The Guardian, people like the AFR start calling Scott Morrison a liar, I do think that matters. And so that's one of the examples about how, as you would call it, like, elites, and such a wanky term, but what I mean is by like people who are have big audiences, whether they're journalists or other kind of creators or influencers, when they change an attitude, it has flow-on effects. So that's why I think that like we might look back at this as an inflection point in the campaign. Now, Mark, as always, is a closed villainy. Sorry, I shouldn't use his real name. Has said something in the comments, which I think is the counterpoint, which I do believe in. Where was it? Respondents only think about international deals when they're asked by pollsters. Partly, I think they probably also think about international stuff. They also think about international stuff when there's a big international conference going on, and we're in all headlines, and we're in international headlines being embarrassed. And I agree. I mean, my prior, the thing that I thought before all this is that people don't care about international relations. They care about, you know, whatever things are happening here domestically. Because honestly, like, a lot of the international relations stuff, they don't really see how it affects them. And I think the further thing to say is, like, I am not saying that, you know, this is the month that Scott Morrison lost the election. And I'm not saying that he's definitely going to lose. In fact, it's very possible that this could be a low point for him before he picks back up. I think what I'm saying is, at the moment, he has personally suffered more of an impact from this than I had expected. And I think that the impact of this will be lasting. Like, I think that there's been a lot around him that has been about his credibility. You know, the bushfires stuff, the Brittany Higgins stuff, then he had, obviously, COVID. And then now this. Kind of creating an attack on someone that really resonates is is obviously useful if you're facing them in politics. And I think if Scott Morrison, you know, if he does lose this election, I think that we will look back at this month at least as one of the big moments during the campaign. I think so. And look, and I think, like, do you know, there's a lot of people out there who think that Labour will lose no matter what, because Labour loses and they lose all these elections. And you know, like at the 2019 election, there were people who were saying, well, it's the unlosable election and Bill Shorten's going to romp it in. And you probably remember, like, Sportsbet paid out Bill Shorten to win the day before. Like, that's how confident they were. Do you remember how they actually ran Scott Morrison's campaign last election? So he came in, he'd taken over Malcolm Turnbull. There were a whole bunch of front benchers and high profile Liberal or coalition ministers who had been under scrutiny because they had done a lot of, you know, shit that had given them bad reputations. What Scott Morrison was able to do is he ran this campaign where he hid everyone else. He made all the campaign about him, and he tried to make the campaign a referendum on Scott Morrison, a relatively unknown person, but a guy who clearly has an active and pretty smart you know what? Clearly, I mean, it's clearly flawed, but at least he places a high, he clearly prioritizes optics and politics. Sabods is right. He ran it like a presidential campaign. And why that was smart is because Bill Shorten was an extremely disliked politician. And you'll remember in the election campaign, he was saying, who do you trust more, me or Bill Shorten? And that meant that, like, you know, Michaela Cash had all these controversies before the election. But people weren't thinking about her because she and a lot of the other members of the Liberal government hid behind Scott Morrison, who at that time was able to run a successful campaign against a deeply unpopular man. And I want to show you something. So this is Morning Consult, who's another pollster who does all these ratings of leaders. And look at this here. This is his rating since he came into power. Or actually no, a little bit afterwards. Sorry, a little bit afterwards. So he won the election in May. Yeah, so just after he won the election. So at the time, his approval was just a little bit higher than his disapproval. Then if you look up here, his disapproval grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. That's when the bushfires are happening. But if you look, his disapproval was already just above his approval before the bushfires. So it wasn't just the bushfires that made him unpopular. Then, in the space of 2 months, boom, his unpopularity dropped, or his disapprovals dropped, and his approvals went up because he was doing it with COVID. And to the government's credit, they could have run a lot more like an austere campaign, like they did things like JobKeeper, which for all their flaws now, clearly at least immediately put money into the economy and helped a lot of people. Like, I don't think there's any denying that. So then he was riding high. There was this whole gather around the flag idea, right? Like everyone was like, hell yeah, we love our leaders. We're battling against Scomo. We think that they're doing, we're battling against COVID. Like we're doing what we can. And then as time has gone on, particularly when the rollout started and it was slow, his approvals dropped and dropped and dropped until about August, September, until August, around September, they started going underneath. And that was really when he was feeling the effect of the poor initial vaccine rollout, which has actually come good, but was not that great to start with. Anyway, this is all to say that Scott Morrison became a bit of a hero in the... he became a hero for winning an election that the Liberal Party thought they were doomed. In the Liberal Party. He was... His campaign strategy clearly worked. He was able to turn it around. But I think there's actually a convincing argument that he has not been an extremely popular or approved of politician almost throughout his entire prime ministership, minus COVID. And now we're kind of getting past COVID, and this stuff is catching up to him again. So I guess I want to question this idea that he is a very politically savvy person, or at least, this idea that he was, a genius for winning in the first place. Is he actually someone who is very good at this, or is he someone who managed to choose the right strategy once, but generally has not actually been able to sustain this stuff? And I think we'll see that at this election coming. And someone said before, which I think is the right point, which is that where was it? Hey, Shift Decimal, nice to have you. Sadbod says, I don't think that works this time. And if that was in response to me saying that Scott Morrison ran this campaign as an individual, saying, I'm the Prime Minister, everyone focus on me for the election campaign, and made against Bill Shorten. The difference is, even if he was facing Bill Shorten again this time, Scott Morrison carries a lot more baggage than he did then. So I don't think that he could run the same strategy with the same success, because he, as a political figure, is damaged. And so we don't know what Labor's going to do. We don't know what Alba is going to do. I was looking at let me see if I can pull it up. Google political what was it? Maybe I just pulled up out of my screenshots. This was a dashboard. Oh yeah, I think it was Google Australia political dashboard. Okay, can't see that. I'll just pull it up out of my screenshots. This is a very, very, kind of random measure, but just kind of interesting, I thought, to see. At number of searches, Anthony Albanese comes at number 5, under Pauline Hanson, under Craig Kelly, half of Craig Kelly, and of course Scott Morrison very much at the top. And we can see in the other polling that where was it? I mean, he's Scott Morrison is still the preferred prime minister. I mean, my gut feeling is that Albo, despite his kind of being semi-beloved around the political class, because I think he just seems less of a dork than some of the other politicians, although he totally is. I think he's still not a known quantity, and Labor is clearly playing a game, a small target strategy, where they're trying not to put too much out there. They're trying to let the government, the focus remain on them so they can keep making mistakes. The question is, with a significantly less popular, less strong prime minister, who they're facing, he's an incumbent who's been there for a while and has made a bunch of mistakes. Is Albanese able to turn it on to make a convincing case that he's a better prime minister, or will Scott Morrison be better at kind of painting him, framing him in the way that makes sense to him? I don't know. I have no idea. But I do think that it's a good position to be in. But I don't really know. I don't really know. So Floppy, nationalising the race to just the PM won't work. Preferred Prime Minister is a really flawed metric. And I've heard that, this is just what I've heard on 538, which is like a polling, like their website, their election or polling podcast. They say that it's a really flawed measure because there's a bias, I think, to always prefer the current Prime Minister or current leader, because how do you compare someone who is a leader with someone who's not a leader, And I think that still happens to some extent with approval. But yeah. So that's my case. That ended up going for a bit longer than I expected. But I guess I just wanted to point out that there's this sense I get amongst a lot of people on the left who just have this idea that Labor has no idea what they're doing, and that they're always kind of doomed to failure, no matter what. And what's that tweet about Bill? Oh yeah, here we go. A classic tweet, which is yeah. Well, I'd like to see old Donnie Trump wriggle out of this jam. Trump wriggles his way out of the jam easy. Well, nevertheless, I think a lot of people, just generally, not even just people on the left, think that, have this idea that Scott Morrison will just be able to turn it around. He has this reputation from his last campaign for being a good campaigner. But my question is, can we look at the last campaign as showing that Scott Morrison is inherently a good campaigner, is inherently a savvy political mind who's going to outthink them? Or is it possible that the circumstances that he were in worked really well for him, but the circumstances that there are now, as a more wounded Scott Morrison against a less unpopular leader, and particularly one who's less of a less known quantity, does that actually set things up in a different way? Is this idea that no matter what, no matter how popular Albo might be, that Scott Morrison will somehow just get in and just squeeze in a win? I think it's a little bit less sure than I realized. And, there's been some good stuff this week about saying that people think Scott Morrison is lying more and that he's kind of becoming he seems to be feeling the pressure and probably the pressure from the last month. So, I don't know. I think it's, the result. Like my friend and colleague Kishore is just like, you know what? I just think it's gonna happen. I think they are going to just figure out a way to romp it in. Like this, Labour doesn't have that much upside, and I don't know. I think there is something afoot. I think there is. So, okay, thank you for listening to that. My diatribe about why I think that things are sticking to Scott Morrison. Now, we absolutely have to talk about the Pauline Hanson videos, and I think watch them. If you haven't seen them, Pauline Hanson released 2, I think of a total 20 videos about cartoons of her teaching other politicians in the class. Some people think that they're genius. Other people think that they are cringe. I will let you decide. I'm just going to take a quick break and we'll come back and watch them together. Hello, TGIF, we are here. How are you all doing? Yeah, we do miss Regina, and happy birthday to Regina. I don't know if she'll watch this, but she's been so great to have around. She's such a lovely person. Sorry, oh my god, I've used the wrong pronouns again. I'm so bad. Let me start again. Happy birthday to Regina. They are such a lovely person. They have helped out so much. Great presence. I really, it's been a pleasure getting to know them. So I'm very, very, I feel very lucky to know them, and hopefully we can keep on, hanging out, having her in here. She's great. She's great. If you're looking to hire anyone, I would highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Okay, hey, Camwilsn here. Did I use the wrong pronoun again? Oh god. I'm so bad. I'm really, really sorry. That's really bad. I'm sorry. Okay, well, let's move on. So, you should get Crikey to fire me for that. I deserve it. It's only fair. Okay, we should do the Pauline Hanson stuff if you haven't seen them already. I'll tell you, they're actually quite entertaining. They are, I believe that Pauline Hanson, is releasing 20 of them. I think there's 2 already up. I think we should watch it.
Right, settle down. Let's make a start. I'll just take the roll. Josh Frydenberg.
Here.
Matthew Canavan.
Here.
Barnaby Joyce.
Yep, here, miss.
Anthony Albanese.
Yes, miss. Anthony Albanese is here.
Okay.
What?
Hey, Bill Shorten. Bill, put that knife away. And you too, Tanya. Peter Dutton.
Where's Porter?
Okay, I quite like the, I gotta give it to him. The Voldemort part is good. I don't get the Porter stuff.
Christian Porter's suspended, Peter. Okay, Craig Kelly. Craig, no phones in class. Who are you texting?
Nobody?
You gotta pay
Adam
that.
Band.
Yes, I'm here on Aboriginal land and I pay respect.
It's just the roll, Adam.
Always was, always will be.
Bob.
Cool. Very, very cool.
Catter.
Well,
This is actually so good.
of course I'm here.
Scott Morrison. Scott Morrison? Where's Scott?
Yeah, aloha, douchebags.
That's
Late
so
again,
cringe.
Scott.
Yeah, sure am. It's me, Scomo. Classic Scomo. What's up? Whoop. All right. Yes, Scomo. Elbow. Whoops. Scomo.
That's enough. Sit down, Scott.
Yep. Sorry, miss. Yep, Scomo.
All right, over the next few months, I'm going to teach you about Australian politics. Am I understood?
Yes, Miss Senator Hanson.
A bit of John Setka in the back. Cool. Very cool.
Now listen closely, because
figured that
at the
everyone
end of
would
this
know.
term, there will be an election.
An election? Oh, get
Just the Scomo, I get what they're going for, but it's they're trying to make him cringe, but I think that they have unfortunately been cringe. So that's the first one. There's some just great content. Yeah, just great comments from here. Can't you expel a lot of them, especially Anastasia? The Socrates method is well worth looking at. Keep asking them questions. Fantastic. Put Australian Electoral Commission Dominion voting machines in the next video. That, for those people who are not as pilled as I am, is the voting machines that all the right-wing nut jobs were talking about as stealing votes and shifting the last election. Seeing from the people who are responding to this, it doesn't really seem like these are like young people who've been like brought in by this like cool anti-woke Pauline Hanson. Just seems like a normal audience. So that's the first one, and then the second one gets worse.
If no one's reached more than 50%, then the last person's second preferences are counted. So,
can we talk about how, and I know that I'm saying this on camera, and I really, really want you to promise that you won't take this out of context, that Pauline Hanson is clearly hot in this. It's just only when you actually control these kinds of things do you get to do that. I'd be like, yeah, this is a cartoon. Can you just make sure he's like a six-pack and is just like really, really jacked?
it's not just the number ones that matter. Twos matter. Threes matter. All right, let's make our how to vote cards.
Got to give it to a bit of George.
Hey, Elbow. Yes? I'll put you down as my number 2 if you put me down as your number 2. Oh, sure.
Do you know, so what they're trying to do with Albo is they're trying to make Albo kind of into Bill Shorten, because, you know, there's this idea of Bill Shorten as like a shifty guy, and clearly they're trying to be like Albo the rat here, but I don't really think that he has the same vibes.
Absolutely, Adam Bant. You can always count on me.
Oi, Scotty! Chuck us down as your number 2 and I'll chuck you down as my number 2.
Yeah, no dramas, mate. No worries.
Oi, Elbow.
Yes, Scott?
You and Adam sharing preferences, just like you share bodily fluids.
Cool. Homophobic joke. We love that. We absolutely love that.
Yes? Right, I got a deal for you. I'll put you down last, and you can go yourself.
Oh,
Like vintage Scomo.
Yes! Stop swearing!
What's going on, you two?
Albo here's been making shady preference deals, miss. Scott's doing it too!
Well, boys, you can do as many dodgy preference deals as you want, but voters don't have to follow your how to vote cards, remember?
Yeah, that's right. Everyone's entitled to their own polling proclivities.
Just because a voter put
Again, the cat is spot on.
you down as their number 1 doesn't mean they have to follow your instructions on their number 2.
Oh, speaking of number 2s.
Get out, Scott! This is a classroom, not the Engading Maccas.
Hell yeah. Scomo shitting himself. Great content. That was incredibly just two of the 20, I believe. Well, I think it's in the media diary. So Pauline Hanson cartoon. The Australian, I think, had the first one. Is it this one? No. Sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry. The Australian Pauline Hanson cartoon. That's the video. Yeah, here we go, I think. This isn't just not working well. Okay, so I can't find the original cartoon. So, okay, well, we'll just keep going on. Nevertheless. Yeah, okay. We'll just, I'll just explain what I think, which is that okay, so actually I'm curious, what did everyone think? Do you like? I've seen people both say that these are really good and really funny, and I've seen people say that these are dumb and cringe and bad. So I'm gonna pop in a poll. Let's see. Do you think they will win One Nation votes? Yes, no. Start poll. Go. All right. I whacked a poll in there. Do you think that they will win One Nation votes? So while people are deciding, allow me to make my case. I think that they do not. Okay, so I'll explain what I understand about them. When I originally read about them, I was told that these were intended to appeal to a young audience who did not already vote for Pauline Hanson. What I saw in the video was a Pauline Hanson who is presented in a very beige way, which I think is probably a net good for her. And if anything, it shows everyone else as kind of being nut jobs, right? So if Scott Morrison is shitting himself, if Albo is a rat, if Craig Kelly is texting everyone, which I don't know why that's bad, but I mean, I guess it just annoys people. If George Christensen is playing with paint, that's probably a net good for her, because as Simon Copeland, who is a guy who studies the far right, said, it is her messaging that everyone else in Parliament is incompetent and she's the one who's holding people to account. So for those reasons, I think it was good. But I think based on that's the kind of thesis. But here's my criticism of it. The first one is that I don't think people, unless they are already politically engaged, will A, get it, or B, care. The Bob Catter thing was funny, obviously. I don't think most Australians know who Adam Bant is. I'm sure he'd love to change that, but I really don't think that people actually know who he is. John Setka, I'm sure will come in later somehow, but again, an extremely fringe political character. Trying to paint Albo as this Weasley ratty kind of guy. If people know who he is, I don't think they view him that way. And also, including people like Bill Shorten, who's essentially out of the political equation, Tanya Plibersek, who is, I think, quite a popular political figure. As Babushka says, I forget that Adam Bant is a Greens leader. So the second thing is looking at looking at the people who've commented on it and looking at how well it's gone on her Facebook. This is just a gut feeling. This is not this is qualitative, not quantitative. It doesn't seem like so far it has reached a new audience. Now that makes sense. The first people it would appeal to, the first people to see it would be people who like Pauline Hanson on Facebook. And maybe heaps of them are sharing it and being like, hell yeah. But I don't know, does it actually really help that much? I'm not sure that it does. Yeah, and I'm giving her free airtime now. The other thing was, I'll show you, I think Pauline Hanson, One Nation. Let me pull it up. So it was supposed to be, when I read about it, it was supposed to be something that appealed to young people and did well on TikTok. But Pauline Hanson one. Yeah, here we go. If you look it up on TikTok, it hasn't really gone well so far. Look, so it's been up for a couple of hours now. It's got 300 views.
Right.
There's me. What are you doing on TikTok? Don't you have a... oh, fuck, that response to me. It hasn't gone well on TikTok. I don't actually think that this is created to perform that well on something like TikTok. It would have to be shorter. It would have to be snappier. I think it will do. It's going okay on YouTube, but again, like, I don't think many people watch 2-minute videos on YouTube. My gut feeling is that it's actually something that is going to be most like that. Her fans on Facebook are going to share it, and people, I guess maybe Facebook video as well. But also, like, people on Twitter are going to share it, being like, I can't believe this is happening. But, like, I actually don't, like, I think everyone needs to chill out. I think it's, if anything, like, I think it has a tiny effect. And there's a lot of people freaking out being like, this is going to appeal to young people. But here's the thing. So people are saying that it's going to appeal to, like, either semi-engaged people. I don't think semi-engaged people want to watch a 2-minute video about, like, Bill Short and Albo. They don't give a shit. They don't know who George Christensen is unless they're already pilled. And the other thing is, it actually, like, it also alienates people who are like the George Christensen, the Craig Kelly supporters. Like, it's gonna alienate, like, surely in a weird way she should be in like a kind of like a coalition or like, you know, a unity ticket with them, but she's kind of picking on them in this. So I'm not freaking out. I'm not losing my mind about it. I think it's so what did we get? What was the poll result? I missed it. I think it said that 76% of you guys said that it will not win votes. I tend to agree. I mean, even if it did, like, was seen by a lot of people, I guess the thing is it a net vote winner? I don't think so. Beep boop 2424. The only bad thing is I know I'm going to end up watching all of them. That's true. I will watch all of them. Or we can watch them all together. Maybe they're just for us. Okay. Let me take one quick break. I'm just going to get a drink of water. And then we're going to talk about some justice. Something good that's happened. Someone who I thought would never actually face any consequences will actually has seen something back into society. Hello, we are back. Okay, let us do it. This is some good news for all us righteous people out there. Sorry, I should reintroduce myself. Camwilsn here, Twitch streamer, internet reporter. We are talking about how a constant fascination of mine, Nathan Buckley, not the AFL coach, but the lawyer who has raised close to $1 million from crowd-funded legal challenges to vaccine mandates and public health orders. None of them have been successful so far. I reported, I think it was last month, that he was facing suspension because he had made quotes about killing police and about his crowdfunding. He said he was going to fight it. In fact, he actually launched, would you believe it? He started crowdfunding for his own legal defense to defend himself from being suspended. And it is just in. Nathan Buckley, 12th of November, suspension of practicing certificate until 30th of June, 2022. Now, the other thing that happened is, let me see, GNB lawyers. If I'm not mistaken, About Us. This is his website, GNB Lawyers. That's the firm that he's been a partner of. About Us. Partner 1, Kim Glassbrow. That's the G. There was someone else who was on this website who is gone. In fact, maybe I can even pull it up. Google cache search. That is our friend Nathan Buckley is now no longer listed. Oh, no, that's another one that has him. Let's go archive. This, by the way, is a nice little internet tool that I haven't shared before. It's very, very simple. The November 8. Let's save here. Yeah, this is, by the way, I use this all the time. So it's cachedview.com. It lets you see the Google cache. So Google keeps a save of pages, but also the Wayback Machine or the Internet Archive also does that as well. Although it's kind of dodgy, as you can see, sometimes it takes a while. But anyway, the short of it, we probably don't have to wait too long. You know what I'm getting at. He is no longer there, which is interesting. Babushka asks, how much money has he made from it? Well, let's look it up. You guys can, we can actually look at it now when we're live on stream. So this is my legal, I think it's legal. Yeah, legal fund sheet. I made this. Okay. You say he's made over 700,000 from GoFundMe's. I know he's made even more than that. I'm pretty sure. So oh, I think his GoFundMe got taken down. So 580,000 on this one. Let's see. This is for an article that I wrote a couple weeks ago. So 60,000. So we're up to 630. So now we're up to 740,000. How's my mental math? So good. And then 740,000, 770,000, and then we also have. So I don't know how much he got through the Facebook group, but he posted a picture of himself with 109,000, so that's 880,000. And then let us look up his G&B lawyers, Nathan Buckley legal fund. Suspension, GoFundMe. Here we go. To challenge the New South Wales Law Society, only 18,000. Very sad. So he has made at least $900,000 that we know of, and possibly more, from legal challenges. Legal challenges that have all failed so far. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong, right, about a legal challenge that fails. And in fact, like, you know, you may advise to the people who you're raising money from that it's unlikely to be successful. But that's not what he's written. In the past, he said we've got a very good chance of succeeding. And if you read some of the decisions, which, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but they do seem like smackdowns. And just when I wrote about it, so I did an article about it about a month and a half ago, where I said that the reason I find it so interesting when a lawyer is crowdfunding for a legal challenge to something is that, to me, there is an inherent conflict of interest, because a lawyer who is crowdfunding for a challenge that they're working on is ultimately paying themselves, and they are responsible for as well offering a they're responsible for offering you know, the chances of the likelihood that they'll succeed. So they say, you know, I think he has a good chance or doesn't have a good chance or whatever. So there's an inherent incentive for them to suggest that there is a good chance that your legal challenge will work, to raise more money that will be used for you. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that that he's lied. I'm not saying that he's committed fraud. You know, he's put in details about the hours. He's published details about the hours he's worked and that his firm has worked. I have no reason not to believe him. But, like, it's not necessarily a criticism or a judgment on him, because I don't have enough evidence to know about his decision making. But I do know that, like, a system where people can raise money, and, you know, this is a system that exists in the past, but a system that allows him to raise money to tell him how likely the chances are that things will go right, that ultimately encourages him, or it's not encourages him, but encourages anyone to say that you have a good chance in order to get more money that you use to pay yourself. I think that's a worrying system. And like, he has posted COVID misinformation in the past. So this is a guy who has, whether knowingly or not, encouraged lies that have benefited his case. I think it's a very uncomfortable thing. And like, even if it's not against the rules, even if he's done nothing illegal, I still find it to be like kind of concerning that the system could be set up in a way that this could be possible, and I feel like there's no safety. And look, to be fair, people who have donated to this, even to the challenges that have been unsuccessful, have said, I'm happy for you to keep the money. So it's not like he's necessarily ripping off all these people. Many people say, even if they're successful, I almost see it as a political donation. Like, it is to support a cause that I believe in, even if I think that it might not work. It's just so like maybe there is no victim. Maybe the people who are saying, I want to support legal challenges that say that COVID, is as bad as the normal flu, or like other bullshit or like you can use ivermectin or vaccines are experimental and potentially, are bad for you. Like, people who want to support that are just choosing to support that. Maybe they're not victims, but it does seem like if you're someone who is posting misinformation that is encouraging the environment, that makes people want to support something that ultimately is based on something that's not true, that also pays the bills of that person, it's very uncomfortable. It's very, very uncomfortable. Maybe the real victim is the friends you made along the way, Upright Squire, indeed. Alright, folks, I think I might call it there. I know this has been a very talk-heavy one. I'm sorry, I had a few things on my chest that I wanted to work through today, but I did have a good time. What are we all doing this weekend? Ladies and gentlemen, yeah. Oh, you better believe it. I have to record a podcast for Medocracy, which if you haven't listened, it's quite good, I think. And other than that, just wedding stuff, just gotta, just unrelenting, getting wet. Love to hear that super slang. Push KA, enjoying the rain, enjoy. It's not the weekend till we play this.
Gentlemen, the weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Thank you, Constababble. I appreciate it. Maybe I will stream the recordings on here. Yeah, maybe. I actually haven't thought of that. Does sound fun. Okie dokie. I'm going to jet. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna enjoy my weekend. I hope you guys will do. I think starting from next week. Oh, big streaming time announcement. I think I'm gonna move from Tuesday to Wednesday. Does that work for everyone? I'd love to still have you here if you can. And also, do you have anyone suggested to raid? I see I've got a few mutuals who are playing games, but if there's anyone else who you think would be good to raid, I'd love that suggestion as well. Actually, you know what? We'll try one. We'll do something a bit different. Alrighty. Thank you, Super Saiyan. Thank you, Clode Villainy. Thank you, Constababble. Thank you, Babush KA. Thank you to everyone who's joined, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.